Hi, baby. It's time for your bedtime story. We're going to read chapter 5 of The Lease. I may still have some questions, but I'd like to stay here as your tenant, Mr. Bob. I do think I'll come to really like it here, Ryan said more confidently than he expected. Bob was delighted to hear this and squeezed the young man close in his arms. I will admit I'm a bit nervous about it, but it seems to be an environment of love, and you'll be offering me so much. I hope I can, in turn, provide you the experience you want from this dynamic, Ryan went on. Looking up from Bob's arms, Bob's face was glowing with a tremendous smile. You've made me a very happy guy, Ryan. I'm so delighted to have you in my home, Bob replied. A little breathy, Bob's eyes got a little damp, but before a tear could form, he leaned in and kissed Ryan on the forehead and held him tight. Ryan instantly felt relief and affection, and maybe even a little wetness in his diaper, but he was not certain. We must get you all settled, and then we can celebrate, Bob said as he stood up and lifted Ryan to his feet. Standing shorter than him, looking adorable in an ever-growing diaper, he could not stop smiling. Okay, so this is what I think the plan will be if you're okay with it. Why don't we get you dressed, and I can drive you where you've been staying to pick up all your belongings. I'll help you bring them back here and get you settled. Can we sign the papers and make it official? When is your first day of classes? Ryan blushed and realized this was happening for real. I start on Monday, so it gives us the weekend to get settled in. Perfect, that'll work great, Bob replied. I just have one request, and it's something you can do only if you feel comfortable with. I want you to feel free to call me Daddy. It might sound weird, but if it ever comes naturally to you, I don't want you to hold back. I'll take it as a compliment. Ryan looked with a little bit of blush. Remember how that word slipped out of his mouth just this morning, and as a reaction while not thinking. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, sir. With that, Bob and Ryan went about their plan. Bob changed Ryan's diaper again and slipped on the clothes he was wearing the previous day. Since Ryan's car was in the driveway, Bob suggested that he drive it to collect his belongings. Upon doing so, Bob thoughtfully waited in the car so that Ryan did not have to feel embarrassed introducing him to his friends. Ryan was of course nervous at the fact that he was wearing a diaper, but he also knew that he would have to start getting used to it. It did not take long to grab a few bags of clothes, his school supplies, and the odd knickknacks he possessed. Living on a sofa for a stretch, he was not accustomed to having his own space, or many belongings for that matter. As he packed the car with his last bag, he thought how he was going from a sofa for a bed with 3 roommates and only 1 bedroom to a space of his own and so much support. He truly felt he was moving up, and in many ways he was, but in many ways he was headed down too, mostly in age. With the slam of his trunk, he jumped to the passenger seat of his car and looked over at Bob. Well, I guess now I'm yours. Promise you'll take good care of me? Ryan said, half as a joke, and half because he had no idea what he was getting himself into. Bob laughed and put his hand on Ryan's exposed thigh. We're in for a heck of an adventure, but I know it'll be well worth it. With a little squeeze, he slid his hand up the thigh to his diaper crotch. Just checking. Don't worry, you'll get used to that soon enough. They both laughed awkwardly, and Bob put the car in drive and headed home. Back at the house, the duo unpacked at Bob's request. all of Ryan's belongings were added to the loft area at the top of the stairs. He insisted that he wanted to go through everything himself and organize Ryan's belongings as best as possible. Seeing as Ryan was no longer be in charge of his attire anyway, there was no need for Ryan to worry about what went in each drawer. So rather than spend time unpacking, Bob took Ryan to the closet where he found a baby blue onesie covered with blocks and other baby prints hanging on a hanger. He explained that they were about to celebrate a big day for them both, and he wanted Ryan to look adorable for the big moment. Ryan, still adjusting to the arrangement, decided not to resist and accept the process. He thought that if this handsome older man wants me to look cute and call him daddy while paying for everything, he should be grateful and try to make the most of it. Insisting on helping, Bob strips Ryan to his diaper and puts the onesie over his head. Snapping it tight against his diaper bulge, Ryan realizes why babies wear them. He felt snug and adorable and became very aware of his thick thighs out on display. Bob looked elated at his selection and, after a hug, led Ryan down to the kitchen. The time had come to make it all official. Laid out on the counter was the lease. All of the rules, all of the perks, the contract that would help Ryan's future, but also could be an incredible challenge. Bob handed Ryan a pen. He hesitated for a moment, but thought of the scene in The Little Mermaid and wondered if he was about to give up his voice, or was he really signing up for the best form of love he could have asked for. It was too late to change his mind, and with a deep breath, he pressed the pen to the page and signed his name. Bob picked up the pen and followed with a signature of his own. "Well, my boy, it's now official. You live here." "And I'm so very excited," Bob remarked. He turned away, then spun back holding a glass of champagne and one sippy cup. Sparkling cider for the special occasion and for a special boy. Ryan giggled, thinking he was used to drinking much harder beverages, but was happy to enjoy the moment with a toast. The cups clanked together and they both drank. "I better get you fed. You must be starving. Why don't you go enjoy some TV and hang out with Sprinkles while I get dinner prepared?" "It has been one heck of a big day for us both," Bob said. "I'm thinking mac and cheese kind of night." Ryan's eyes widened, and that sure did sound yummy. Without pause, Ryan waddled over to the family room adjacent to the kitchen. A big sectional sofa faced a large TV on the wall. He was well within view of Bob, who was hard at work in the kitchen. Ryan fiddled with the remote and turned on the TV. Though he typically watched TV on his phone or laptop, he was looking forward to having cable and a big screen. Pressing the buttons, Ryan was starting to become frustrated. He flipped through the channels, but no matter what he did, he only seemed to get children's channels and learning shows. He examined the remote more closely and couldn't understand what he was doing wrong. With frustration mounting, he stood up from the sofa, and with the remote in hand and sprinkles in the other hand, he waddled back to the kitchen. Bob, I'm sorry to bother you, but something seems wrong with your TV." "Oh yeah, buddy? What's the problem?" Bob asked. "Well, I can't seem to get past the kiddie or learning channels. I'm not sure what to press," Ryan replied. Bob chuckled and grinned wide. "Well, I think it all seems to be working fine to me. No problem at all." Ryan stared blankly in return. He did not understand this response. Wait, I don't think you heard me," he said, like a silly teenager. "My cute boy, the TVs in the house have parental controls, and like a good parent, you are able to watch the channels that are most appropriate for you. Trust me, you'll enjoy them very much. Go back and find a show you like," Bob exclaimed. Ryan continued his blank stare. He realized he was wearing a diaper and a onesie and even holding a teddy bear, yet he was still shocked to realize that the TV shows would be suited for a toddler as well. Without a fight, he turned and waddled back to the sofa. He pointed the remote to the TV and flipped through the channels once more. After some commercials and passing a nature documentary, he lands on Paw Patrol. He did not know what it was, but the cartoon of some puppies seemed to be interesting enough. He began watching and became engrossed in the program. 20 minutes later, and into his second episode, Bob walks over to find him sucking his thumb and staring mindlessly at the TV. "It's time to eat, cutie. No more TV." And just like that, the screen went blank. Ryan wanted to put up a fight, but his hungry tummy would win out. Sat at the kitchen counter again, with a bib around his neck, Ryan ate off a colorful plate and talked with Bob. They discussed the remaining weekend ahead and how they would get Ryan set for classes. Bob also explained that he would get a lot of errands to run once Ryan was in school to get ready for the semester as well. They talked about their favorite foods and other likes and dislikes. Bob wanted to make sure he knew what made Ryan happy to help ease the transition and make him feel at home. The big meal pushed towards 9 p.m. And like the night before, Bob suggested it was getting late and should take Ryan up to bed. Ryan was not excited about this and asked, "I know you're in charge, Bob, but what bedtime did I agree to?" Bob looked serious and responded, "Boys like you ought to be in bed by 9 p.m. every night. You need your rest, so I won't hear any complaints." Ryan's eyes widened. He hadn't realized that his bedtime would be so early. He was used to staying up past midnight most nights, but it was the first night and he was not about to get in trouble out of the gate. He replied with a nod and followed direction. The night seemed to be a copy of the one before. A diaper change, and then Bob tucked Ryan into his crib. He fell asleep almost instantly, baby Mickey dancing in the mobile above his crib and Bob watching from his bedroom on the monitor. He was so proud and excited he had found another boy to give his love to. He knew it would not be easy, and Ryan would get frustrated along the way. But he also felt genuinely that Ryan needed this as much as he did. Sleeping in just his jockstrap, Bob tried to fight the throbbing bulge in his crotch. It seemed to be the time with Ryan was getting him excited. The morning came quickly. For a second night in a row, Ryan slept better than he ever imagined he could. Was it the mattress or something else? As his eyes opened, he didn't even want to think about how he would feel about himself if his diaper was wet. He rolled onto his back, and the blankets fell off him with the crinkling sound of his mattress cover beneath him. The cool morning air stung his exposed thighs. One hand remained clasping his plush teddy bear, and his other moved towards his cold legs. Brushing last his smooth skin, he reached the soft plastic layer of the white diaper. Apprehensively, he grasped the bulge, and he was relieved to find that it was not swollen. The discovery left Ryan feeling bigger than before, despite, of course, the pacifier in his mouth and sprinkles in his arms. Laying in his crib, he was uncertain what Saturday mornings would be like. He remembered how helpless he was the day before, so he decided to try and wait for Bob to come get him. He looked at the walls and the adorable paintings that clad them. Baby Mickey was having fun with Baby Donald. Baby Pooh and Baby Tigger were bouncing around as well. Feeling restless, Ryan rolled over from his back, almost in slow motion and very much like a toddler, onto his tummy. His blankets further twisted around his legs, but his diaper remained exposed. With his diaper bulge pressed against the mattress, suddenly Ryan's eyes widened. He was suddenly very aware he was having very adult morning experience. He felt his firmness pressed hard against his weight. The urge to thrust his hips into his bed and diaper by extension grew larger. He tried to resist and sucked harder on his pacifier. How embarrassing to be turned on while in my diaper. What will Bob think if he catches me? Ryan thought. Then he thought about Bob's strong chest and manly body. He could not hold back. Suddenly the sound of rubbing plastic echoed in the nursery. Sliding sounds, crinkles, pulls and pops of the plastic were impossible to hide. In the midst of the moment, the nursery door opens, and standing there with a smirking grin, Bob's broad body filled the void of the door. Wearing just a jockstrap this morning, Ryan could not help but stare at his crotch, frozen like a deer. Bob cuts the tension with a giggle. "Well, little guy, that didn't take long now, did it?" Bob said as Ryan's face turned red. "We better get you out of bed, and then we should have a chat about those big boy activities you are having. I'll have to explain the rules more clearly." Walking towards the crib, Ryan buried his face in the pillow as his embarrassment consumed it. It was many days since he last ejaculated, but this was not what he had in mind for his next time. Before long, Bob had lowered the rail and lifted Ryan into his arms. Without words, he quickly checked Ryan's crotch to find it dry, but the tinting of his chubby penis. As to not draw any attention to it, Bob lifted Ryan in his arms and flung his legs around his waist so that Ryan's crotch rested on Bob's hip. The chub pressed into Bob as an embarrassed Ryan rested his head on Bob's shoulder with instinct. Full of morning strength and of adrenaline from humiliation, Bob carried Ryan down to the kitchen where a big breakfast was waiting for him. Moments later, calm and full of chocolate milk, Ryan started to shake free from his feelings, and Bob was there, waiting patiently for him to open up. From the silence, Bob put one hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You never have to feel embarrassed around me, cutie. I know I'm asking you to try some new and strange things, and they might be awkward for you, but know that you are always safe. I want you to feel like your true self." His hand rubs Ryan's back. Ryan, with a mouthful of food, nods. Bob passes him a fresh bottle of chocolate milk, since the sippy cup was empty. As Ryan began to drink, his eyes remained focused on Bob. "Now I need to discuss one of the rules you may not have realized from the lease. When I said you would always be in diapers, I did mean always. It is a rule that me and only me have access to that part of your body. That means cute boys like you can't have your hands wandering around your diaper. That would just become such a mess and not clean, right, buddy?" Bob asked. And Ryan just drank with increasingly shocked look in his eye. Now, I know a boy of your age has a lot of exciting feelings, and those feelings can be very distracting. I want you to stay focused on school and being the perfect boy you are. Any special feelings should be directed towards the connection you and I have. Am I making sense?" Bob went on. Ryan's expression grew more blank, and Bob realized he needed to be more direct. "To be clear, as part of the rules, you can't touch your pee-pee. That's my job, and that includes no more getting excited on your tummy. I bet this is a bit of a shock, but trust me, it is for the best." Bob turned away for a moment, and Ryan slowly opened his mouth to try and protest. But before he could, Bob turned back, holding a strange blue contraption. "So, this is optional, kiddo, but I think it might be a very helpful tool. If you will allow me, I'll put this special device on your pee-pee, so that you never have to worry about those impulses again. This special tool will keep you from getting distracted, and you can just fit in your diaper like the good boy you are." Ryan's mouth dropped. He looked at the cage-like device and noticed it had a key sticking out of it. The blue plastic ribs seemed to be strong and yet delicate. Unclear how this was even attached, it looked uncomfortable and very controlling. Don't be scared, you'll hardly notice it. And before long, you'll feel as innocent as the boy you're becoming. And this way, our cuddles will stay adorable and no naughty thoughts will get in the way. So what do you say? Should we put this on you and this way you can live worry-free from breaking this rule? Ryan was at a total loss. Bob made it clear that he was at risk of breaking the lease, and if on day 2 he was already getting excited around him, how would he last the semester? Scared, Ryan took another drink of his bottle. Okay, you know best. Please promise it won't hurt, Ryan pled. Have no fear, my boy. Once you've settled into it, it will feel necessary. You'll feel so much relief knowing you are following the rules. After breakfast, we'll get you changed and fitted into this special helper. And just as Bob said, the men finished their meals, and after it was back up to the nursery for a diaper change. Ryan was not very wet, but his diaper was a mess from all the earlier friction. Lying on the changing table, Ryan did not see what was going on, but felt Bob gently working on his penis and balls. He explained that this all worked best with a boy who's smooth in this area. So without much discussion, Bob carefully shaved Ryan of all his adulthood. Now that he was baby smooth, Bob needed to get the device in place. But still nearly naked, he was having trouble and kept saying Ryan was being naughty and would need to calm down in order for it all to work. Bob told silly children's stories and tried to change Ryan's focus. In time, it was quiet and Bob was able to lock Ryan's penis into the Chastity device. Using baby wipes, he cleaned up the drips of pre-cum and got his diaper area all clean. With a sprinkle of powder, soon Ryan was getting diapered once again, but this time with a caged penis. Sitting up, Ryan looked down, expecting to feel weird about the plastic device on his manhood, but rather was more surprised to see his diaper was no longer a simple plain white, but rather had a Pampers-like baby print on them. Little blocks with cartoon lions and pastel colors covered the plastic exterior. What happened, Bob? These are different, he asked. Yes, I think these will fit you better, and will hold more. This way you don't need as many annoying diaper changes. You can feel safe wearing these, knowing they will keep you dry. And I want my boy feeling safe and secure in his diaper, Bob said, giving his diaper crotch an adorable pat. Doing so caused some powder to puff up like a cloud. They both shared a giggle. I think you deserve some fun, don't you, son? Bob asked, and Ryan sighed relief and agreed. Bob grabbed a romper from the closet and held it up for Ryan to see. A blue pastel with an embroidered teddy bear on it. This looks like the perfect outfit for you to play in. Without protest, Ryan let Bob dress him. The fit was almost too perfect, and his diaper bulge looked just adorable, and the snapped crotch having a gentle puckering around Ryan's meaty thighs. I could just eat you right up. Okay, it's time to introduce you to your playroom. Bob led Ryan down the hall to the top of the stairs. Just off the lofted area was a room that Ryan had not yet explored. Entering it, Bob turned the lights on, and the small room had a wall of shelves full of toys. The floor had a rubber puzzle tile play mat on top and more toys covering it. Many toys were oversized and all geared towards a toddler. There was even a low table with a stack of coloring books. Have all the fun you want in here, son. Good boys get to enjoy the playroom. Let your imagination run wild. Connect with your inner child and be your true self, Bob explained. Realizing that it's not going to be easy for Ryan to jump in and play, he would need some encouragement. Ryan scanned the room, unsure where to start. He saw a tower of blocks and went in for a closer look. He squatted down. Almost with the weight of his diaper and the fit of his romper, he fell to his butt. Sitting with the blocks, he began to restack them closely. He paused and looked over his shoulder. Bob was standing at the door. "Go on, no right way to play. Explore," Bob kept calling out with encouragement. Ryan went back to it. He kept stacking the blocks. "See, I knew you'd enjoy this. Now I want you to have lots of fun while I get dressed finally and do some chores. You'll be safe in here, and to make sure I have this special gate." "I'll be back soon, cutie," Bob explained, as he unfolded the locked and oversized baby gate at the doorway to the room. It was too tall to climb over, and the only way in and out of the room. Ryan was contained like a giant playpen. As Bob turned to walk away, Ryan stared at his bare, muscular ass and his jockstrap. Instantly, he felt a strain of frustration in his penis. He went to rub the excitement, but in feeling the fluff of the diaper, he remembered he was contained in a cage, and excitement was not going to be possible. The frustration grew. He looked around the room. He knew he needed a distraction. Soon the train set in the corner caught his attention, and that captured his focus for a while. As he set up the tracks and pushed the wooden trains around, he thought about the time thus far with Bob. He had only been there a couple of days, but in all this time he had no privacy unless he was contained in a crib or now the playpen. He was really under surveillance. Then he remembered school would start soon, and he would have all day long to be free and independent. So he should enjoy the time he had to play. It did not take much time for Ryan to find the joy and simple pleasure of playing like a toddler. He got so engaged he did not realize how much time had passed, nor how he was wetting his diaper. The simple bliss of an adult toddler was starting to suit him better than he could have ever anticipated. Okay, that's the end of this chapter. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of the next video. Bye, baby.